Hi students, welcome to ThoughtWorks Academy. Today we will discuss about research methods in psychology. I will be speaking from the point of view of A level and AS level Cambridge syllabus, which will help you to crack your exams more easily. Okay, and when we speak about psychology, we study behavior of human beings. So when we speak about behavior of human beings, when we have to say or predict the behavior of a person, research methods plays a very important role. Now, you might have a question as to why research methods in psychology. When we have to understand the behavior of a person, why do we need a research method? Looking at a person, observing a person's behavior, we can get to know. But research methods plays a very important role when you have to predict the behavior of people and when you have to control certain unwanted behavior. Lot of research has gone into psychology in the past few decades. If you see, lot of other methods are explored, other behaviors are explored. They have tried to generalize these findings to a larger population. So let's today know about the various research methods that are conducted in psychology and how this research methodology goes on. So what do we mean by research methodology? Research methodology is the way we conduct research. Like the very first and foremost step in research methodology is framing the aim of the study. Aim is where you will try to answer some questions that are present in you. Might be, say for example, job satisfaction, and you want to explore what is it makes people satisfied with their job. That is the question you have in your mind, and if you want to explore it, you should have an aim. So what is the level of job satisfaction for different categories of people? People who work in corporates, people who work in organizations or who are in service sector. So this way we have lot of questions in our mind, some unanswered questions in our mind which we would like to explore. So let's get into the topic of research methods. First and foremost, let's discuss about experiments. How experiments are conducted in psychology and why it is important. Okay, so experiment is an investigation which helps the researcher to understand cause and effect relationship. The researcher investigates one variable and its effect on the other variable. Okay, now when a researcher manipulates or changes a particular variable and its effect on the other variable is what we look into experiment in psychology. Now the variable that the experimenter manipulates or changes is called as independent variable, and the effect where we observe through a behavior is called as a dependent variable. Now say for example, if I say changes in sleep pattern reduces the concentration ability among students. Now, the variable I will be manipulating is the amount of sleep a student gets. Okay. Now, I might let some of the students sleep for longer periods of time. I might let some students sleep for shorter period of time, and then give them a learning task or a particular list of words to memorize. Now, those students who have had longer hours of sleep might have better concentration ability and might remember the list of the words better compared to those students who have not slept properly. But of course, there are individual differences. In psychology, we can't say that only proper sleep will enhance concentration or attention ability. There are certain people with very less amount of sleep also who are able to do that. But 90 to 95% of the people will need proper amount of sleep to concentrate or increase their attention level. So this is the main important aspect of experiment where we try to establish cause and effect relationship among variables. If this is the cause, what will be the effect on the behavior of a person? So almost all the experiments are conducted to analyze this particular aspect. So moving on further, with experiments. Apart from these two variables, that is independent variable and dependent variable, we have certain other variables also which might have an effect on the behavior of a person. Like when we say uncontrolled variables. Sometimes what happens, the experimenter overlooks that there are presence of other variables also around which might have an effect on the person's behavior. Now taking the example of the previous quoted example where I said that sleep deprivation or amount of sleep has an effect on the attention of students. So what happens here is there might be other factors like the presence of light or sound around the person. All of these also might have an effect on the way the person learns the list of the words or how he or she remembers it. So there are certain variables which the experimenter might not expect that might have an effect. So these are called as uncontrolled variables. So it is very important for the experimenter to know about what are those extraneous variables, other variables which are present around us which might have an effect on the behavior of the person. So if in case we are able to control these extraneous variables which is not of interest for the experimenter to analyze, then the results will be more valid and reliable. Now next, moving on to experimental designs. Usually whenever we conduct an experiment, there are three different designs of which the experimenter might choose which design to use. There are certain experiments that are conducted, research study that are conducted in psychology where they have used more than one research design during their study. So, the three research methods are independent measures design, repeated measures design, and matched pairs design. Now, what do we mean by independent measures design? Independent measures design is where none of the participant undergoes the same condition of experiment more than once. Meaning to say, I might divide my participants into experimental group and control group. Now, what is this experimental group, you might ask me? Now, say for example, in my study, there are 40 participants whom I have selected. I would like to compare the results of the subjects. Okay. So when I try to compare the results of my subjects, I would like to divide them like 20 in experimental group and 20 in control group, where the experimental group will undergo the manipulations of the independent variable and the control group will not undergo any of the manipulations of independent group. Now say for example, if I have to understand the effect of a study material. Okay, so I might select 40 students, of which for 20 students I will give study materials and also some of the aids for them to understand, like mind maps and all of that. I have another 20 students who are from the control group. They will only receive the study material and no other help from my side. So what happens now? This experimental group and control group are given a test after they go through the study material. So after they go through the study material, when the test is conducted, I want to compare the result. How will be the result of those students who got extra help, extra resources, and those students who did not receive anything apart from the study material? So this will help me to compare whether these methods will help the students or not. So, in independent measures design, participants undergo this particular trial only once. There are no other trials, there are no other series, they are not called back again for the experimentation purpose. This is independent measures design. When we speak about repeated measures design, now say for example, I select these 20 students, I give them a study material, I ask them to go through, prepare and all of that, I conduct a test. I might ask them to come back after a month and give them some other techniques of studying like memory techniques or other techniques where it will help them to go through the material. So they go through that and then they use it. So again I call them back after 1 month. So the same participants are repeatedly tested upon after a time frame or a fixed number of days. So this is called as repeated measures design. Now, what do we mean by matched pairs design? There are certain characteristics, certain aspects that I am interested in as a researcher. I would select only those group of subjects or participants who match on those criteria. Can be gender, like males, only males in the study, or only females in the study, or only students in the study, or only people who are aged 40 in the using them in the study. So this matching them on a particular criteria, or subjects who are all of the same IQ level, selecting them for a particular study is called as matched pairs design. They match on a particular aspect and they are used in the study. So this is about experimental design. Okay, now let's look into the evaluation of experimental design, that is the evaluation of independent measures design, repeated measures design, and matched pairs design. Now looking into the strengths of independent measures design, there are different participants who are used for different conditions. Okay, as I quoted the example. So none of the participants are repeated for any of these conditions. So this avoids demand characteristics. Now what do you mean by demand characteristics? These are the characteristics which the participants might show when they are taking up the research. Now say for example, you're conducting a research on a set of participants and looking at the questionnaire or looking at the questions that you are asking them, they might sometimes understand the aim on which you are conducting the research, and they might give answers that are appropriate or what the researcher is expecting the participant to give. So this will alter the results. We will not get reliable results this way. So in order to avoid demand characteristics, independent measures design is a wonderful method to use, where it avoids demand characteristics, and the participants are there is random allocation of participants. Like even in a group of 40 people, if I have to select them for experimental group or control group, I can divide them randomly. Like you come there, you come here, or I can give them numbers. They pick up a chit, and based on the number, they go to the experimental group or they go to the control group. So randomly, when we have allocated these participants to different group, again there are no issues with the results that we get. Okay. Now when we speak about the strengths of repeated measures design, this will help us to give proper results. Now when you have to compare, now repeated measures design is very helpful when you are trying to assess the effectivity of a treatment method or a therapy under certain situations. Like now say for example, you have started a psychological therapy for a group of people and you want to see how effective it is. Okay, so when you have to know the effectiveness of the therapy, what you do, you call them back after a week or after a month and see what all changes have happened in them. So it is very easy to compare the same results before and after, or the effectiveness of a therapy that is being offered. So this is the strength of repeated measures design. Okay, and you need fewer participants compared to independent measures design. Now in independent measures design, where I would need 30 or 40 participants to compare between the two groups, in a repeated measures design, 20 participants are sufficient, meaning to say I can give them therapy and the same participants I am calling back. So I need not worry about getting participants again for the next trial that I am going to have. Okay, and when we speak about matched pairs design, the strengths of matched pair design, participants see only one level of IV. Meaning to say, again, this particular method or design reduces the demand characteristics. Because now say for example, if I'm conducting a research on gender differences, okay, so males in one group and females in one group, and when I conduct research on them. So it is only once they are exposed to independent variables, same like independent measures design, which will reduce demand characteristics among them. Okay, and individual differences also, it is easy for us to know. Now, even though I select people from the same IQ level, like all the participants who got 115 on an IQ test, let's suppose, if in case I conduct few more tests on them and there are changes in the results of the test, I can very easily say that there are individual differences present. Now, next, moving on to the weakness of the experimental designs. Next, moving on to the weaknesses of experimental designs. As you know, in independent measures design, there are a lot of participants who are involved, and there are chances of lot of variations in the results because of individual differences that we were speaking earlier about, and this might also distort results because of the vast number of participants that we are taking. Okay, and it can sometimes be the results might be less effective also. If in case we are in short of participants and we select less number of participants, then generalizing of the data becomes difficult in independent measures design. Whereas in repeated measures design, the participants are exposed to the independent variable more than once. Now, say for example, I was speaking to you about the effectiveness of a therapy. Now, when I conduct the therapy and then when they come back the next month, I ask them a couple of questions. And when they are called back for the third time, they already know what I am looking at, what effect I am trying to analyze of the therapy that was being conducted on them. So what happens here is they already know the purpose for which they have come, and this might again distort the results as demand characteristics are prone to set in. And when we speak about the weaknesses of matched pairs design, the similarity between the pairs that we have selected is limited. Now, say for example, if I've selected people of same gender, gender matching only is present in them. Apart from that, all the rest of the things might be different, like their personalities might be different, their IQ level might be different, or the way they perform in a test might be different because of the individual characteristics. Okay, and availability of these matched pairs is also difficult because sometimes we might not. Now, say for example, I am looking into one particular personality of people on whom I want to conduct the research, and I have to find out few of the questions that I have, find answers for them. So finding people of that particular personality might be difficult. Or if I'm planning for an intervention technique for one particular psychological disorder, then again finding people with that particular disorder and convincing them to take part in the research might be another difficult task for the researcher. So these are the strengths and weaknesses of research designs. That is all for today, and types of experiments I will discuss in my next video. Please do let me know through your comments as to if you want any particular video to be done on any particular concept in your A or AS level, and I would love to do that. Thank you.